Hello, this is Reverend Tigre Tatetai Senior. I'm the longest serving chief pharmacist in the Republic of Liberia, and currently I teach at the School of Pharmacy in the Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology. Back to the question, you want to know at what stage a herb considered a potent drug for the treatment of a disease like COVID-19. Now, herbal medications are very difficult to pass a decision because from my own study, a single leaf could give you as many as 20 different medications. And to be able to certify a particular herbal medication, you have to do an analysis of all the components and set the benchmark, for all of them. If the benchmark set for all of them is certified, then of course you can pass judgment for that particular medication. Until that, it is difficult for some of us to pass judgment. Take, for example, the COVID-19 medication or herbal medication there is a particular plant derivative, artemisinin from the plant. And analysis was done respective to malaria treatment. That we know. But included in that concoction, the proprietor said, the inventor or the manufacturer said, there are other components we are not aware of. Now, in the event of not knowing what may be the impact of the other component that we don't know, in addition to artemisinin, it is difficult for me to ask a pharmaceuticist to pass a judgment on such a medication. And so, on the question of how many stages a particular molecule or drug can undergo to be certified or approved, clinically speaking, there are 3 stages. And before even the clinical trial, there are a lot of other stages that the molecule must go through before it reaches clinical trial, and we call that preclinical trials. Now, for clinical trials, as you want to know, the drug, the first phase takes a few individuals in the range of 20 or 50 at most, and it is there to test whether this medication can be tolerated by the system. People test the toxicity, test all the parameters, test whether it will not be carcinogenic, test whether it will be gender friendly, test whether it will respect the ages and all of that. Then, while that is going on, they will go into a second phase, which is a disease stage, where people that are actually sick that drug will be administered to them. And now they know they have enough information from the first trial, and this process is called pharmacokinetics. How the drug handles how the body handles the medication, breaking the drug down, and distributing it, eliminating it. These are all stages that pharmacokinetics is concerned about. When that is done, they go into the pharmacodynamics stage, where What does a drug do to a disease when it encounters a disease? This is the second phase of the clinical trial. It takes a number of people in the neighborhood of 100 or 150, and they study why that is going on. They go into a third phase, which goes more accommodate more patients. It is released to the public, and institutions like teaching hospitals will be asked to document what they observe in the treatment. Those are the three stages as far as drug approval. When the drug passes the three stages, then it can be put on market. Even while this is going on, there is always update on the drug, because there is something we call biological variations. There's a racial variations, and so the drug must certify all of these. There is something that we call, how does a drug affect a fetus, teratogenic effect. All of these things must be documented to truly certify the drug molecule that is released. And in the event where any adverse drug reaction is recorded that warrants the suspension or the removal or recall of the medication, that is done. And let me say one important fault about the COVID-19 that I made mention of. The manufacturer released the badges. Every badge that comes out from the manufacturer has a number. The COVID-19 that was given to us, in due respect to the kind effort of the president, that the badges that was there were no badge numbers. How do we identify that badge in the event of adverse drug reaction? So every medication that comes out, there is an assigned batch number, and that batch number is used for traceability in the event where there is an adverse drug reaction. All that the manufacturer will ask for what batch or what this lot number. That lot number is recorded, and that batch is recorded for further analysis. That's how it is done. And so clinical trial, again, has three phases. So as the drug goes through all these phases, documentations are going on in every stage. So that, if you understand what it is to release a molecule, what it does, all of the parameters to be certified, you have to be very, very careful. It's not a fixed, quick thing. You must be persistent. You must be honest. You must be committed. You must be open-minded in all that you do, that at the end, you will release a molecule that will satisfy all the parameters as required under manufacturing, required good manufacturing practices. Well, on the question of how would I classify drugs or herbal that do not go through the recommended stages? From where I sit, and as a practicing pharmacist and a pharmaceuticist, I would not recommend such medication for use, because it is very, very scary when you know the kind of serious damages that drug can cause or herbal medication could cause. Then you will be very careful how to recommend any medication of that nature. Take, for example, there are target organs. Your Your liver, anything that goes into the body, the liver takes care of it. It goes through what we call detoxification. Then, if it passes that stage, it goes into general circulation. In fact, from the liver, it goes to the heart. The heart is the distributing chamber. And from the heart, it goes to other important organs like your kidneys. The kidneys is the filtering organ. Suppose you send a medication that overwhelms the filtering capacity of your kidney, it will damage your kidneys. And that's why, in most instances, the most target organs for this kind of uncertified drugs that I don't recommend, the organs that are affected, your liver, your kidneys, and some other vital organs are affected. So, from where I sit, I will not recommend any medications or herbal medication that does not certify all the stages that are required. You know, a pharmaceuticist is lacking to an internet doctor who wants to know the disease entity, the causative agent, and want to know he wants to know all that. Sometimes an internet doctor will be discussing a patient until the patient dies. This is the same with a pharmaceuticist. We want to know the drug that is being released. Will it certify all the parameters? It will certify the age, the ritual, the unborn children, the fetus. Does it have the capacity to cause cancer? Is it carcinogenic? All the parameters must be certified before somebody passes a judgment. In the absence of all of this, it is very much difficult and almost impossible for some of us, for what we do know, to pass judgment on any medication. You see, what people do is a pure risk. In Africa, in Liberia per se, people go to, large segment of population go to herbal traditional healers. In most instances, well, on the question of how would I classify drugs or herbal that do not go through the recommended stages, from where I sit and as a practicing pharmacist and a pharmaceuticist, I would not recommend such medication for use because it is very, very scary when you know the kind of serious damages that drug can cause or herbal medication could cause. Then you will be very careful how to recommend any medication of that nature. Take for example, there are target organs. Your liver, anything that goes into the body, the liver takes care of it. It goes through what we call detoxification. Then, if it passes that stage, it goes into general circulation. In fact, from the liver, it goes to the heart. The heart is the distributing chamber. And from the heart, it goes to other important organs like your kidneys. The kidneys is the filtering organ. Suppose you send a medication that overwhelms the filtering capacity of your kidney, it will damage your kidneys. And that's why, in most instances, the most target organs for this kind of uncertified drugs that I don't recommend, the organs that are affected, your liver, your kidneys, and some other vital organs are affected. So, from where I sit, I will not recommend any medications of herbal medication that does not certify all the stages that are required. You know, a pharmaceuticist is lacking to an internet doctor who wants to know the disease entity, the causative agent, and want to know he wants to know all that. Sometimes an internist doctor will be discussing a patient until the patient dies. This is the same with a pharmaceuticist. We want to know the drug that is being released. Will it certify all the parameters? It will certify the age, the ritual, the unborn children, the fetus. Does it have the capacity to cause cancer? Is it carcinogenic? All the parameters must be certified before somebody passes a judgment. In the absence of all of this, it is very much difficult and almost impossible for some of us, for what we do know, to pass judgment on any. Was at what stage would a herbal product be considered potent and used for treatment regimen? Let me repeat myself. There are a number of processes. What I do know, I am not going to dwell so much on herbal medications. The reasons are: number one, herbal medications, they are different compounds brought together as one. Take for example, for my study, a single leaf could give you as many as 20 different kinds of drugs. So if you are using herbal medications, it's a tedious, if not impossible, a difficult task to really pass scientific judgment on this. Having said that, there must be a ground rule laid down from which you can make a judgment and say, yes, these herbal medications are good and they can be tolerated. The first thing we have to do is to do what they call phytochemistry. You do analysis, as well, making reference to a single leaf having 20 different medications. You go and do the analysis, come out with what are the different medications, and you go through analysis. This is a very tedious task. If you convince yourself that this is exactly what it is, then you do what we call characterization. Then you do the pharmacokinetics, how the drug is being handled by the body, the breaking down process, the distribution process, the elimination process. All of these things must be certified. Even at that, you will still be skeptical as to whether this medication is still good until you go through the different what are the answer different questions. Will it respect the age? Will it respect gender? Will it respect or have effect on the unborn fetus? And all of these things, when they are answered, then of course you can be in a right position to say, yes, this medication is good, and I can now relatively pass judgment. The reason why we could not, I was one of those that were called in the Ministry of Health as member of the pharmaceutical sector to answer to the call of our president when he brought the COVID-19 concussion organic product. We could not have answered or give up there were a number of fundamental problems we had. One, we know artemisinin is a researched plant, and it is very good for the treatment of malaria. But on the label of COVID-19 organic product, it says artemisinin and other components that we were not aware of. And more to that, every batch of medication that is released from a manufacturing company or group must carry a batch number. In the event where there is a problem, like adverse drug reaction, you can, all that the manufacturer want to know what batch. When you call the batch, then they can go and recall and do analysis to do an investigation why this problem may have happened. The COVID-19 organic product there was nothing there batch. And I think it's a fundamental problem that we as members of the pharmaceutical sector, we have with the product, so we cannot pass judgment on such a medication. Okay, you want to know what are the benchmarks that a product should reach? I think in passing, I listed some of those benchmarks. Number one, that before a decision is made, that medication must be tolerated. When it is introduced in a living system, that system should be able to tolerate that medication. That's one. You do the toxicology, that it is not toxic. And when it passes that test, the second thing is how effective it is against the pathogen for which it was designed. Is it what the level of concentration? We call that bioavailability. How much of the medication should be in the system to bring about the curative effect that we desire? We have to calculate all of that. The other thing is we want to know, is it because the engineering of the male body is quite different from that of female. You have to test whether the racial aspect of it. You have to test whether it is good. It will not affect unborn child, the fetus. We call that teratogenic effect. It must be free of teratogenic effect. The next thing you want to look at is that it should not be carcinogenic or a drug that will cause cancer. When all these benchmarks are certified, before you go to what we call clinical trial, all of what I am listing, they are just pre-clinical, and to be able to do that, you use animals or testing, even from low animal before you get to what we call mammals. And it can start with lower animals. You go to rats, you go to cats, you go to monkeys, and the rest of the thing. So it's a long road. That's why to develop a molecule, it's not just something that is done overnight. It takes many years of careful scientific investigations. And when all of these things are certified, before we go to what we call as the clinical trial. And now let me quickly go to somebody asked the last time, what are the steps? There are 3 phases. After you do all of the preclinical trial, the first phase is to take few number of people. It can be the researchers to take the drug. They are all healthy people. I mean, you need a neighborhood of 10 or 20 or less than that for the drug to be administered to them. Then documentation can start. It is done to know how well this medicine is tolerated in the body, how well this medicine is broken down. It go through this is process we call pharmacokinetics, the dissolution, passing through membranes, then distribution, then elimination process. How long will it take for it to be cleared from the system? All of that is done. Then when the second phase is to apply the medicine in a diseased state. Somebody who has the disease already, how well is it hitting target? And already you have acquired how much of the dose that will be sufficient in the system to bring about cure in your first phase. And that what we call bioavailability. How much of the drug, when it is introduced, go through degradation and distribution, assimilation, elimination. But how much of it? Now, if you introduce it in the disease state, how much of it is there, and how well is it targeting the pathogen? All of that is documented. That in this second stage or second phase, it will take a couple of 100 persons or more. When it passes that, while you are documenting, you go to the third phase. That third phase is when the drug is now released to hospitals, especially teaching hospitals, where the drug the doctors, they are professionals or professors of medicine, professor of pharmacies, and they will do thorough documentation. When that passes that test phase, then of course the drug is now released in the commerce. Now, mind you, even the drugs that are in the commerce, there's still a room to continue to follow them, because there's something called biological variations, racial variations. All of these factors are taken into consideration. And there's no drug that is free of other drug resistance. But when they're good against the evil is higher, when the good is higher than the risk, then of course we can let it go. Well, there is a question posed to me whether if it is possible to relax some protocols to have a drug administered at least for emergency purposes during epidemics such as we face today. We all know from research that the journey from discovery to market drug is very time consuming. Let me tell you, there are situations during emergency, a lot of things happen. People under the guise of emergency, they do some, drug manufacturing, the pharmaceutical sector. You may not be aware that it's at some point it becomes a criminal empire. People want to get what they want at the expense of people. So we got to be very careful, because when the dust is settled, tomorrow, those of us that put out our pen or ink the paper and say, yes, let it go, will answer questions. And for me, I fear no one but to fear the one who is above. So we have to be very careful how we give approval to medication. But there comes a point where people say, "Oh, but now our traditional healers, they go and they can heal people." This is trial and error. But now that we have established the pharmaceutical bodies to checkmate all of the ills in the pharmaceutical sector, I will not. And let me tell you, in most instances where our traditional leaders, I told you that taking a single leaf, that single leaf should have different medications. And the most dangerous one is the one that you grab or rub it and you just take it. It is not detoxified. Detoxification comes in a form of heat. If it is boiled, at least it is detoxified. But the one they just take and it causes serious damage. And some of the major organs of target include your liver. Everything that enters the liver goes through what we call detoxification. It breaks it down. Then it is sent to the heart. The heart is the distributing chamber. Then from the heart, it distributed to all parts of the body, including your kidneys, your brains, your eyes, and whatever part of the body it goes. And so the target organs are the kidneys, probably the heart, but especially the kidney, which is the filter. You could have your kidneys damaged. You can damage the filtering system. And in most instances, when people fumble, when the traditional leader fumble with patients, by the time they get to the hospital, it's too late. And that's why, yes, for me, I am a product of a herbalist. My father was a renowned herbalist, but I don't know where my father got that kind of wisdom from. Some of the things that I studied in classroom, I could see my father applying that kind of wisdom, but it was through the grace of God that he did what he did to save humanity. But in our days of science and technology, we must be very careful. You see, uh, another reason why I will not do that, people are criminal minded. They will intentionally, for the love of money, they will intentionally hurt people. And giving drug approval because it is so-called emergency, when the dust is settled tomorrow, some of those that append their signatures to the approval, they will answer questions. And our country is evolving. There will come a time that people will be asked to answer questions. And so we must be very careful. It's better to be on the safe side than to go through the method of trial and errors. And that is where I stand as a professor of pharmaceutics. I mean, I will do nothing, absolutely nothing, to hurt a fellow. In fact, I took oath that if even my arch enemy appears before me today, when I am performing the act of pharmacy, the oath tells me to perform my duty and see that enemy as a creature of God in peace, and nothing like criminality. I should perform. And so if I am placed in a position to make decision, I must make sure that it works. Well, you asked What are the possible mistakes that might occur during the discovery stage of a drug? Yes, we have a computer age, so mistakes are a bit minimized. Notwithstanding, no matter how sophisticated an institution is of manufacturing, that's why there is a process in every manufacturing or entity. There's something they call internal auditors. Let me tell you, give you three fundamental or benchmarks that a manufacturing company should read before it is licensed. We call that good manufacturing practices. Number one, whatever we do must respect the environment. The environment in which we manufacture our medication must be conducive, must be environmental friendly to be able to do our manufacturing appropriately. Secondly, we must respect the precision or the accuracy of the equipment that are deployed in the manufacturing of medications. Thirdly, we must have high level of professional. The personnel is another important factor that will determine the quality of medications being put on the market. Having said all of this, there is high degree of possibility that people may not apply due diligence, as I've always told my students, to the extent that they call me due diligence. Human beings being what we are, there is highly likelihood that somebody may not have applied due diligence in what they do, and there is high probability that mistakes could be made. So we can't rule it out. But given the precision of the computer age, those mistakes are usually minimized. Well, let me throw a little light on the mistakes once again. There's something I forgot to mention. That if people, for reasons best known to themselves, if the equipment are not properly calibrated, if they are not properly calibrated, there's a high probability the precision might be faulty, and what comes out may not be of standard. And that's why we have three pharmaceutical products that are moving in the international commerce. One, we have what we call genuine products that meet all of the requisites, pharmaceutical optimal requisites to be deployed and consumed. Genuine products. Secondly, there is something we call substandard products. These products, perhaps they may have all the active ingredients, but because the pharmacist or the superintendent pharmacist may not have applied due diligence, or may have used some excipients or adjuvants, foreign, not understanding the chemistry properly, those kind of product we call them substandard product. Let me break it down. When I talk about adjuvants, we are talking about the inert pharmaceutical components that are used as vehicles. Take for example the binding agents. The binding agents to bring the active pharmaceutical active ingredient, there must be compatibility between the non-pharmaceutical product to the active ingredient. If you don't do the chemistry well, that product could be faulty. It means that you did not apply due diligence. These are minor mistakes, and it will render the product substandard. If the product is subjected to analysis, regulatory analysis, it will fail. But whoever that is responsible cannot go free. Absolutely, whatever you do in pharmacy should be error-free. And that's why I tell my students to apply what we call due diligence in every step of the way. There must be SOPs. Even to wash your hands, there should be a designed, animated SOP that people will look at so that they will be able to practice it without error. Everything that you do in pharmacy should be error-free. Then the third type of medication that move into, so those are what we call fake or adulterated medication. These are criminal empires that sit down and just manufacture anything and make money at the expense of humanity. Oh God, each time when I talk about it, I say, let God punish them. And we have such a thing as that. No matter how sophisticated a country is, there's some degree of fake medication that can infiltrate the system. I tell you the truth, in the great United States, when the thing that biological weapon was going on, and I think during President Bush administration, where they sent anthrax, it's a bacterial biological weapon, and so when that thing was going on, the drug of choice is ciprofloxacin. So people, the president stepped up, call on manufacturing company to step up the production. And among them, there was a practicing superintendent. He wanted to take advantage of the situation and diminished the amount of active ingredient in ciprofloxacin. But the people have sophisticated analytical apparatus, so they were able to discover that. And when that was discovered, that was the end of that man's profession. But these kinds of things, we, the developing nations, we face the blunt of these kinds of monumental mistakes. And because our quality assurance capacity is not optimal. Even as we speak in Liberia, when I was at the Ministry of Health, I sent a proposal. That's how we got quality assurance equipment. And when I made a decision to separate the regulatory authority from the pharmacy division, when the Liberia Medicine and Health Product Regulatory Authority was established, we worked with that institution, and they brought in enormous, good quality equipment that can do it. Sadly enough, those equipment got a fire at the National Drug Service on the GFA compound. Those things burned. Millions of dollars of equipment. But notwithstanding, we are in the process of rebuilding that lab somewhere around surface area. There's a new building that the authority has engaged. So the laboratory we are building. I can tell you one equipment could cost over $75,000 US. Take for example, the HPLC, high performing liquid chromatographic machine. That machine, we call it HPLC, it will cost $150,000 US. When you put your medication inside, it will do all the analysis. It will tell you the amount of medication, exact medication that we have. And to be certified, you must have all the equipment that you have in your quality assurance, you need to have at least two each. You have a dissolution machine and all the other machines. Those were burned, but we have begun to rebuild them, and sooner or later we will be up to, we're about to be certified when the fire gutted that place sadly enough. So this is where we are. We there can be mistakes. Yes, human beings as we are prone to mistakes. But these mistakes could be avoided if we are very careful, if we apply due diligence. Well, for community to have a role in the production and trial of drugs, well, that is a difficult question for me to answer. But what is required? There must be appropriate awareness creation among the population. Take for example, if the medication goes through pre-clinical trial and gets to clinical trial, you need human beings that will be willing to 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 be willing to be used. You know, it's hard for me to say as getting peace, but this is a contribution to humanity, because this medication that is going through investigation, we may not have all of the parameters of adverse drug reactions and all of that. So people, the community has a role to play. People in the community have a role to play because they should be willing. Take for example, when the Ebola vaccines were brought in the country, people had to volunteer to be used as subjects for the study, so we could get all of the parameters that are required to pass judgment on the vaccine. And thanks be to God, over 1,000 persons were enrolled. From what I do know, there were not significant events that occurred during that trial. Today, that vaccine is approved. So that is a significant role that people in the community can play, ordinary citizens can play to pass a judgment. Mind you, the medicine that you are using comfortably today, there were people that were willing to offer themselves so that they can go through the trial. Yes, so that is an important role that the community can play in the production and development of a particular medication. I hope I answered your question. Well, how do we think clinical trial is important to our to country like ours? We do not produce drugs. I think it's important, and I will consider that as a major contribution to humanity. I was just making reference to the Ebola vaccine. It's a contribution that must be noted. Yes, we stood for protecting humanity, and so if we do not do that, if we are not willing to do that, who else do we expect to be used for the study of the medication? Yes, it's an ethical condition, and that's why there is what we call ethics board, and the board members are selected based on subject matters based on legality, based on religious ground. And these board members, when the protocol is prepared, is sent to these board members, and they look at all the ramifications and pass a decision to say, yes, let the clinical trial go ahead. So we do have that board here in Liberia and any other country for that matter, where clinical trials are conducted. In fact, we have the Liberia Medicines and Health Product Regulatory Authority that is close with the authority to monitor clinical trials. And so, yes, it is important. Yes, we do not manufacture medications. We do go through the production of medicines in this country. It is important for us to give our services to that direction. Thank you.